Hey guys, it's me, Halloween Dan, and I'm doing a really quick video today because I just wanted to show you one of my many build projects that I'm on this year. There are several, not all of them are working exactly how I wanted them to. Some things I've kind of scrapped, but there is one thing I'm very tentatively, I think I've got working. It's sort of working. I'm sort of happy with it, and that is my Frankenstein's monster. You might remember me saying I was going to attempt to build my own very simplistic one. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you some of the updates to my castle, which are not really updates, but I'll show you them anyway. Let's do this. So there haven't been a huge amount of changes to the castle. Forget the piece of string, that's just there to stabilize it. I've had it up for about a week. I've really been testing it out throughout the bad weather that we've had over the last week. It's been very, very wet and relatively windy. It's going to be windier still tonight. Here's one gust now, little gust, but it's going to be really windy tonight, and I don't want to risk this, so I am going to take it down tonight and put it down the side of the shed for storage, hoping that we don't get winds like that when it's actually Halloween, but who knows. The only real update I've done is I've blacked out this room. This isn't really how it's going to be. I want to black out this back section more than that, so that is a very dark little room inside there, and this is where one of my characters is going to stand. Now, slight change of plan. Some of you might remember me talking about how in this doorway I was going to use my wailing phantom, which was the creature I kind of had in mind for this the whole time, because it would be perfect. It's a ghost. This is meant to be a haunted Dracula kind of castle, so I thought it was going to go down really well. And then I came to put him into the castle and realised that even though all of his dimensions say he's 7'4", I don't know where they got their tape measures from, but they certainly weren't working, because this guy is more like 7'6", 7 foot, even towards 7'8" when he's on the rise. So he was too big. He literally, all you could see of him was the bottom of his jaw. He was just below the center point of the doorway there. And I thought about making him a little short thing, like taking out some of the bars that make him the full height that he is. But you know what, I like him that height, so I'm going to use him pretty much where I always do in my horn, and I'm going to stick something else in this doorway. At the minute, I'm leaning towards the new little Reaper prop I got from the range this year. It's still kind of a phantomy ghost creature. I was thinking maybe I could give him some fangs to make him look a little bit more like a vampiric kind of a Reaper type prop. So he might go down quite well. Other than that, there's not been a huge amount of change to my horn. I've really been just working on the behind the scenes stuff, adding further supports at the back. This is gonna have extra support. This is where my Dracula scene is. And I've really just been working on how I'm gonna black it out, what it's gonna look like from the back. I'm gonna have an extra piece of timber here, and this is all gonna be blacked out too. That's the base of the tower. So it's coming together. It's all very much in the experimental phase right now. Overall, I'm still pretty happy with how it's looking. It stood up to the weather pretty well, even with the limited amount of support that I've given it. Really, all I've got to work out is how I'm going to black out all this stuff so that people don't see the bits of timber and struts and stuff, but I think I can figure that out. But what we're really here to see today is my Frankenstein's monster. Now, he's under a sheet, and there is going to be a reveal. This, I'm just going to warn you guys, this is a prototype. It's a prototype that will probably end up being the finished result, I'm not going to lie. For something that is really so simplistic, this has been really hard to achieve. I'm going to show it you guys. Don't get your hopes up. This is not Hollywood standard. This is Halloween Dan standard, which if you've been with this channel for any length of time, you'll know that often these things, I have really great imagination and lovely plans of what I want to achieve, and then they end up looking nothing like what I imagined. So here's the reveal. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. Like I say, this is really a prototype. I haven't decided the positioning of the hands, how I'm going to have them. I mean, I'm sorry guys, what is this? I mean, I got a relatively cheap mask from someone who I knew. It also came with these cool hands. They're actually not too bad. This isn't the classic Frankenstein. I want to white out the eyes. you've got a foam head underneath this mask. This is an old Halloween costume that I had that I've just spray painted with a bit of black paint. There is a reason why he looks like this though. There is a reason. Oh, he's missing feet. He needs some boots. I need to get him some big boots. But then he will be pretty much what I'm finishing with. I'm going to silver out this board. I've got some silver foil that I'm going to add to the table so it looks a bit more scientific-y. This is how it looks. I don't know what's going on with his pants here. Maybe just a little bit too much stuffing on that side, but it is hiding something that. So this is not a tutorial. No one's going to learn anything from this. It's just, if anything, it's how not to do something. So, but nevertheless, let me show you what I'm talking about here. So the reason his pants look like they do is because there is a piece of pallet here that's acting kind of as the support for this whole thing, because it needs to be anchored down. And as you can see, I have a plug. This obviously won't be how it looks on the at the night, but I have a socket there. Underneath his gowns, underneath here, of course this needs to be waterproofed, but there it is. This is what I've been working with. This is a fan motor, but it isn't the motor that drives the blades of the fan. It's the motor that drives the fan turning on its axis. So it's a very relatively small motor. Some people sometimes refer to them as reindeer motors. It's not the most powerful motor, but what I was really interested in with this motor is that it's already attached to a mechanism here that allows the motor to bring something backwards and forwards. So when it's a fan, it's obviously turning the fan 90 degrees that way, and what I've done is flip it on its side, and now it's doing 90 degrees that way, going from left to right to up and down. So that's the idea. That's the whole principle of this. I'm sure someone with more tech savvy than me would have figured out a better way of doing it, but that's how I figured out doing it. So then all I've done, no one's going to want to copy this, is attach very poorly a piece of overflow pipe which runs right the way through his chest and to the foam head that's under the mask to the motor, with a load of cable ties, because it was the only way I could figure out doing it. And then, as you can imagine, there's a fair bit of weight in this, even though he's not. That's why he's not overly padded, and that's why I haven't added too much detail to the mask, because believe it or not, this is just balanced in such a way that it just about works, because too much weight and this motor cannot cope with it. So to compensate for the lack of power in the motor, that's what this is about. This is a piece of elastic. It's actually, funny story, a piece of elastic from some Christmas underpants that I had never worn, because I don't like Christmas underpants, though I get bought them every single year. So I cut out the elastic and I used them to basically create an extra amount of pull, an extra amount of force, so that as the motor is struggling, and it does, to lift this guy upwards, the elastic kind of kicks in and gives the motor the extra bit of support it needs. Like I say, this is clearly not the finishing look. I want to perfect this whole region and stuffing wise and all the rest of it. But the good news is it does work. So now I'm going to show you it working. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive! It's alive! Oh, it's alive! Oh, now I know how it feels to be God with an electric fan motor. Whoa. Yeah, so yeah, this is not the most impressive thing in the world, but it works. I've clearly got a lot of work to do to fix this whole area, make it look a little bit cleaner, and I want to maybe do something to his neck, because it does look a little bit weird, and I obviously want to white out his eyes just to make him look less like a mask. But it works. It does what I wanted it to do. It is so finely balanced, guys. Literally, it stopped working about 10 minutes ago because I'd added spray paint to it, and just that amount of moisture from the spray paint caused this thing to not be able to rise up again. So I had to adjust the elastic once again. It is really, really finely balanced, which is why it hasn't got that much more detail to it. I would love to add all kinds of special details to this thing, but I know that if I add any more to this, it will stop working, and I am just happy that I've managed to get it to work at all. Now, the thing that many of you are going to be thinking is, that's great, Dan, you've managed to get this guy looking like he's rising up and down off a table. Wonderful, that's absolutely amazing. But surely that motor is not going to last particularly long. It's not a very strong motor. It's not overly waterproof, any of this. And if this guy gets wet, you've just mentioned it, if he gets wet, then the motor's not going to be able to drive him. And you're 100% right. And I 100% understand that. So this is not going to be a permanently on type of a thing. This is only going to be on in the evenings, and if it's dry. My thought process is this: if I can basically have this guy out all the time, covered with a tarpaulin and maybe a sheet just to make him look like obviously a dead body underneath a sheet, he still has the presence of Frankenstein. You still go, oh, that's clearly what it's supposed to be, like either a body under a sheet or Frankenstein under a sheet. There's got to be a whole cluster of mad scientist equipment going on in that sort of region. There's going to be things moving the rest of the time. I'm going to have my Reaper in here, my bat probably hanging from somewhere like there. So there's going to be things going on all the rest of the time. And what I'm thinking is, during the day, this guy will not be on. I won't have him running in the day. But then in the evening, in the nighttime, when it's lit and hopefully it's not raining, that's when this guy will come to life. And I think I'm going to take it one step further. I'm not even going to have him permanently switched on like this, constantly going. What I'm actually thinking of doing is plugging in to his plug. Basically, it's one of those simple socket adapters where it has a remote control, so you can switch things on and switch things off. It's the most simplistic kind of a sensor type remote control thing you can ever imagine. They're actually made for people who want to switch on lamps that are behind like sofas and stuff, so that they don't have to get behind the sofa to switch on the lamp. That's literally all I'm thinking of doing, and it'll allow people who've come to see my display in the evening time only to switch this guy on and actually bring him to life. I'll have music playing that's like mad scientist music. I might even have it so that only in the evening time the scientific equipment can be switched on in the exact same kind of a way. I've got a lot of ideas, but right now I'm just really, really pleased that I've managed to get this guy doing this. Because as simple as this is, as kind of terrible as this is in some ways, it doesn't matter. It just brings this scene to life. And this is all I wanted. I didn't want something that completely dominated the castle. I didn't want something that completely took away from all the work I've put into everything else. Just wanted an accompaniment. Something that's there in the center that people can go, ooh, look, it's Frankenstein rising up off a table. And that's it. That's all I wanted this to be. And that is something I think I've just about managed to achieve. Anyway, guys, that's it from me today. Don't be too harsh in the comments, please. I know this is not like, wow. Oh my God! Wow! The most mesmerizing thing anyone's ever seen in the world. And I'm sure there are many of you out there that could do better than this. This is my level of capability. I'm an artist, I'm not an engineer. So I'm quite pleased that it's working at all. I might try and make a few improvements to it, but let's face it, this is pretty much going to be it. And I hope that some of you went away going, that's pretty cool. I could do that too, because you could. It wasn't hard to do. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next one. Keep it spooky. Bye.